defense, defense.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad.
We got rhythm.
For old people. And
He's
a white
white,
dude
he's
here.
white, I'm half. So there we go.
Those are our handicaps
Yeah.
we've overcome, yes.
You says dance. So, no, we like defense. We talk about it all the time. We like the hits, we like the picks, we like all that stuff. We're going to start out with the second team defense. And this group, nothing too shabby about this group.
Who wants to play? Who wants to hit? Offense is all about skills, but defense is about want to. You know what I mean? That's why I put the kids on defense that will be aggressive and that like the contact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or the guys that can't catch. Go play
True,
corner.
I was about to say, or too mean to play, break too many rules to play off. No.
Yeah. All right. Now, our first one that we're going to talk about, D-line. Let's go D-line. Edinburgh North, Sebastian Boulos.
For 3 years, he's been one of the most phenomenal, athletic, huge, marauding kids in the Valley. He's been a little mercurial, meaning sometimes he'll be the player of the universe, and other times he'll not. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you that because I watch him all the time, and it's no disrespect. But I think this year he really solidified. He did what a senior needs to do, which is be a leader and be an example and come to play every night, which he did. I thought he had a tremendous season, and he's one of those guys, there ain't too many people who are disruptors. A lot of people do their job, they'll make the play. But this guy, as a defensive tackle, weighing 260 or 70, man, he made way too many plays outside the tackles, which means the other teams were just getting whooped. No, outstanding number 50. And for 3 years, as I say, one of the best players I've seen in a long time, body of work-wise.
Yeah, and when you lose, this next guy, when you lose your top running back and you have to, your defense has to step up, you need to have guys that will step up with them. Defensive lineman Chris Rojas from PSA North.
28, and they had some good ones, They had some real good ones this year. This guy, I sat in the end zone, watched him one game. The other team was at about the 15, North of playing defense. God, he gets off quick, man. Wow, he's gone. Mm-hmm. He's by you. And he's a thick kid. He's not overly tall. I don't know what he is, 5'9" or something, 5'10". If I missed it, I don't think so, about 5'10". But he's stocky and he's strong. And like I said, that first step, man, he gets by you. And when he gets by you, he's going to hit somebody, man.
Yeah.
That was a hitting team. Gaetan and Rojas and Raudel Alvarez and those other kids, Leroy. They hit you, man. Yeah. I know that they didn't end up making the playoffs, but they had some physical kids who came to hit, and I always enjoy watching them.
Yeah.
They were poppers, man. And I thought this guy, Rojas, was very, very good player.
Next up from Raymondville, we've got a tie, actually, for D-line. From Raymondville and Harlingen.
Yeah.
Edwin Gasca from Harlingen and Darian Cortez, a junior from Raymondville.
Well, Raymondville, they made the playoffs. It wasn't the greatest year for the Bearcats, but they're another one of those teams with some underclassmen that are going to be something. We rattle off the names week by week. They get their quarterback back. I believe they get their best running back. 6 out of 7 or 8 guys on defense, and Darian's one. He's the guy that was most highly touted at the beginning of the season. And I think that, based on his numbers and his performance, he lived up to that expectation, and they squeezed into the playoffs, and they did a decent job against a very good team that's, going on down the road here until I think they lost Navarro. But, Bottom line is this guy's a player. And so is, look, all Gasca did on that great defense is win Defensive Player of the Year in the district. So, he's not too shabby.
Not too shabby, yeah.
Yeah, he's another guy with quickness. Yeah. Another guy with, he can make you miss, and then he'll get to the ball carrier in a hurry. And he's got great chase speed. He really does. Yeah.
The next player, I screwed up on talking on offense, saying that Eloy Perez was the offensive coordinator. But for defensive coordinator, Eloy Perez
had both jobs in the space of 30 minutes. So what a hell of a job, Eloy.
But he had a great linebacker, and that was Lane Klosterman.
Well, as I told you earlier in the season, I'm relatively certain that he comes from one of the great lineages, Matt Klosterman and then the 40s Fred Klosterman. They got to be the same. How many Klostermans do you see running around Willacy County? Who knows? Sounds like a joke. How many eggs does it take to change a light bulb? Anyway, this guy had more than 100 tackles. He was one of those 6 or 7 guys that really propelled Lyford to the great season that they had and won the playoff game. And I just can't wait to see what he's going to do for an encore, man. Because he had a tremendous junior season.
Yeah, and the next player, he played for one of the best defensive teams in the Valley, really took it to teams all year. A linebacker, Elias Garza from San Benito.
Richard Moreno's been one of the great players there for some time. Skylar Garcia bulked up and had a great season. They got that, and some other kids on the defensive line that had tremendous seasons. But this guy, and I talked to Mando Garza, who, when it comes to Rio Hondo, Port Isabel,
that San
area,
Benito,
that guy knows his business, And he was telling me, you just watch that 23. And he was not saying the other kids aren't good, that's not what I'm saying. But he just said, Elias is a monster. And when I saw him play, I believed it. He's not real huge, but a lot of those guys at San Benito, Skyler wasn't that big either, and Richard's 5'8". I mean, but they just were aggressive kids, and that group, those linebackers were amazing. So you could have put any one of those three kids. You know, we had a hard time. I think that Skyler came on late. Richard's always been consistent, but Elias at the beginning of the season, when they were looking to say, do we have a good team? We're only juniors. That guy set the tone, man.
Yeah.
He was killing people with 10, 12, 14 tackles, and that to me that was probably the best linebacking crew in the Valley. Of course, I'll get some arguments on the internet, but that's okay. I think that kid was very representative of an excellent season for San Benito, and as I say, without being too long-winded about it, God, I wish they'd have beaten Sal.
Yeah.
That's my friends.
Yeah. From Weslaco, a name that we saw last year all over the papers, is Jordan Nichols, and he was all over the papers this year, all over us. We love him.
Got his picks, got his fumbles, 110 tackles. It's just, like Diego, man, and a couple other kids. It's not his fault per se that Weslaco did not have a superb season. He's still a great football player.
The defense still caused a lot of offensive, some defensive points or positioning for the offense. And that was all. He was one of those players.
Oh God, I mean, range, quickness, and he's one of the smartest football players in the Valley. Okay, he really just. Some guys naturally know. Some guys study up. I don't quite know what it is with Jordan, but he's instinctively great. I mean, he just is always in the right place. And here's the thing, with the offense that having its issues, they needed those two seniors to come in and play great, and they both did.
Yeah, very much so. Now, Roma didn't have a great season, not what we've seen in the last couple of years, but Gerardo Gonzalez really set the tone at linebacker for them.
They had two guys that really impressed me at the beginning of the season, J.J. Pena at safety, and then Gerardo. Look, he's a 3-year guy. He's probably logged more tackles than anybody you can name because he's a big old kid, and he's fast, too. I'm used to seeing big kids, but then you watch him run, and you can hear a bum, 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 bum. But he's got some quicks, man. I mean, he's not gonna win the 40, but you know what? I don't care. He's gonna win the 10, and he can win the 5, and he can knock somebody out when he gets there. I thought that guy's a tremendous football player, and let's face it, Weslaco or Roma's like Weslaco.
Yeah.
They had chances and they had talent, but they were in the league with a lot of good teams, man. I mean, who in the world would have predicted that Nixon was going to do the things that they did? They really had a great season. So, no, I thought that Jerry or Gerardo, you can't leave him off the team because he's just a damn good football player. Man, I don't care whether their team made the playoffs or not. He's just outstanding.
Yeah. Well, this team, shocked us because we thought they lost everything last year, and that was Brownsville Vets, and they didn't. They, had a share of the district title, and part of that was because of defensive back David Almazan.
Number 6. Brandon Ray, number 20, was a great player for them. He could have easily been on this team. They had 3 or 4 others, Tabaras. But this guy, man, he just was one of those guys who just seemed to have a zest for the game, man. I mean, he didn't just come run and play. He ran with a smile and with sweat flying off him and making plays. And, he'd come up on a blitz and he'd kill the quarterback.
Yeah.
And then the next play he'd be in the corner knocking away a ball. I just felt like this guy was on fire, man. Some players have that special aura around them where, I'm not going to say he's the greatest of all time. He's going to go play at Rice, But, I mean, he just, in the context of the Valley, just stood out to me. Every time I saw this guy, man, he was doing something terrific, man. I really liked him a lot. I liked his spirit. I really did. And they had a couple of guys in the team that had something going this year, obviously, because they made it into the playoffs and won 8 times. A good team.
Now, our next player, if, they kept their team in this. Their defense kept their team in it all year. Is PSG North Raudel Alvarez. We heard his name all year.
And I remember him, I think as a sophomore, certainly last year, a classy-looking, athletic, big, good-looking kid, 6 foot. I mean, he was a man's man. He'll stride off the field, and everybody's like, oh. I mean, he just gets your attention. You know what I mean? Great punt returner, great safety. And here's what I learned about him this year from some of the other media out in the Valley, whom we know and trust and respect. Apparently, he's a great team leader. And the kind of kid with character and dignity and that really understands his role as a senior. And I watched him late in the season when they were struggling, and he was doing his damnedest to keep it from happening. And I felt like I really appreciated the effort that kid gave. And, I'm not going to, beat the drum here for Michael row your boat ashore for PSG North because I got no horse in the hunt, man. But I was just impressed with the way those kids held up under a lot of adverse circumstances. And Rydell's the cream of the crop, man. And when I read that article about him that said, what a tremendous leader he was. It just made perfect sense because he gives off that sense of being somebody who's important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't mean in some cocky way. No, he's a great player. Two.
Yeah. Next is from Sharyland, defensive back Andres Tamez.
You know, some people, as they progress and they learn the ropes in high school football, they stay the same really talent-wise. They don't get no bigger. They don't get any stronger. Here's a kid who, unless I'm thinking of a different guy, and I'm not because I know my game, this guy was not nearly as big as he was this year. He worked his tail off, man. When I saw him, he was bulging out of his uniform with muscles everywhere, man. Great punt returner. Hell of a defensive back, and I feel like that's the kind of kid who, if you'd asked him to play receiver, he could have done it. He probably would have had 100 yards.
Yeah.
He's an excellent athlete, and kind of like J.J. Pena, we mentioned him a minute ago from Roma, got bigger. So some guys lift, and some guys eat right, and they do the right things, and other guys, you see them when they're seniors, you're like, good Lord, son, what happened to you? You know?
Yeah.
I felt like this guy went in the right direction, and Sharyland, I told you. In week 8 or 9, you're not counting them out. You can't count them out. They're going to make it. They got too many quality kids, and this guy was at the top of the heap. Of course, they had that sophomore, Havo, who's going to be excellent.
Yeah.
And Havo Lopez, you look out for that kid in the coming years because he's going to be an all-valley player. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
Now, if he follows the example of Tamez and gets with the program in the weight room, hell, who knows what will happen to him.
Well, our final DB is Harlingen's Steve Martinez.
And here's a guy who, on first glance, you're like, okay, all right. On the spot, always making a play. A big interception late in the season, down near the goal line. Harlingen had a ton of guys who could play this year, and they had their usual quick team. And the second half of the season, of course, they had that early rush where they got beat a few times, and we were like, oh, what's wrong? Who won the district?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It prepares you.
That's what I'm saying. And so this guy was a emblematic of the Harlingen's Cardinal spirit, man. Cardinal spirit never dies, and this guy refused to get beat. And he made some big picks at the end. And, boy, I wish they had that United game back.
Yeah.
That's all right. You know what? They proved that they have a lot of moxie. So does San Benito. So, I thought Stevie had a good season, and a lot of those kids did. It was hard to pick the Harlingen kids this year because I thought they had about 8 or 9 that were
Very
commensurate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't have a one big shot here like, oh, my God, Kevin Ledesma. They had a lot of good players. So he was one of them, and so congratulations to him. And, I can't wait to see what happens with Harlingen next year because it's always a saga, an ongoing story. What will be, who, what, where.
Yeah.
Nobody draws as much attention as Harlingen, man.
Never.
Ever.
Every year.
That's right. Harlingen, Valley football begins with Harlingen, and a few others, but Ed Cow's PI. I mean, I'm always wondering in the back of my mind. That's why I say I cannot believe that for the first time all year I didn't get to go see them late in the playoffs, man. That's too bad. But you know what? Hey, hope springs eternal in the hearts of men, and next year a whole new season is waiting.
So our last player for the second team offense, we'll have all-purpose in just a second. Or is it all-purpose? No, we don't want this. No, what am I saying?
No.
Defense, Edinburgh North it makes the list on the second team defense, and that is with
the punter.
Asiel de Leon.
Asiel de Leon. Now, I've seen that guy probably play as many soccer games as I have football games. Tall, rangy kid. He does that rugby-style punt. Put it this way. I saw him punt one 65 yards in the air at Cat Stadium, now called, of course, Richard R. Florida Stadium. They had him directional kick a lot because that's what people do now.
Yeah.
But when they just let him boot away, he's got a leg, man. He's got a hit 39-yard field goal late in the game. I think it was in the playoff game in Los Fresnos. No, he's got a tremendous leg. Hell of a soccer player. He'll be back. And, when he let go that punt, look, there's very few guys that punt down here like a Paul Alsbury. Like when they would get into it, like a missile. It turns over in a spiral so tight, man, you can't even see it. And it looks like someone threw a pass,
Yeah.
No, Asiel is a great punter and pretty good kicker. And since he was a soccer player, I kept asking him, hey, are you going to get the fake or what? Are you going to, take it and run and stuff? He was like, I hope so. But he didn't. That's all right. Yeah.
Well, that concludes our second team defense.
Second D. How would you like to run against those chaps?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, you'd love to have them on your team. Yeah.
So what do? We put the first offense against the second defense?
We should.
And the second against the first. We run a set of 40 plays each. We can call it the All Valley Bowl or something. Get a sponsor. Let's do that stuff.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe they should do this for the All-Star game at the end of the year.
Oh.
But, that's just our suggestion.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll have the first team defense, and then we'll get to our awards, the big awards.
I think, is my head big or is this hat small? One or the other. We'll be back.